Hello, my name is Rish Saha, and I'll be talking about how COVID-19 may be affecting your child more than you think. COVID-19 has brought about so many changes to all of our lives, including reducing our social interactions thanks to social distancing and quarantine guidelines. A lack of social interactions affects everyone to some degree, no matter how introverted you are. This goes for children as well. They aren't getting to see their friends, play games with them, sports with them, and more. While we all hope that once the pandemic is over, everything will go back to normal, this lack of socialization during this pandemic may have permanent effects on a child's emotional regulation and responses. While the pandemic has not been around for long enough to assess its long-term effects in humans, we can look at rat studies in which rats are socially isolated at a young age to model the possibilities. A study by Lukes et al. Exposed rats to social isolation at an early age and examined their fear and anxiety responses. The study found that those same rats as adults displayed increased anxiety-like behaviors and fear behaviors compared to their counterparts who had not been exposed to early age isolation. To relate this to humans, children at their young age are currently going through a period of reduced social interactions. And if this rat study accurately models the effects in humans, then it would suggest that this reduced social interaction could lead to increased anxiety and fear behaviors when they grow up. Another study conducted by Tulugdi et al. Exposed rats to early-age social isolation and examined resulting behaviors. At young ages, these rats displayed abnormal social behaviors and abnormal aggressive behaviors. Later in these rats' lives, they were allowed to re-socialize with other rats. The study found that while re-socialization allowed for the removal of abnormal social behaviors, abnormal aggressive behavior still persisted. Attributing this to humans, if children are experiencing various abnormal behaviors as a result of a lack of social interactions, there's no guarantee that when these children go back to their normal socializing ways, these abnormal behaviors will be solved. Thus, if a child has become more aggressive than usual, or easily agitated, or displays other such behaviors, those behaviors may persist throughout their lives. Now, before you start panicking over the health of your children, there are some things to consider first. These rat studies discussed in the previous slide socially isolated the rats, meaning that the subjects had no social interactions whatsoever during a certain time period. Your children are, of course, not completely socially isolated. They have their family members and anyone else who lives in their house that can communicate with, and they also have technology with which they can communicate with friends and family outside of their household. One thing to keep in mind is that internet communication may not be as effective as a means of communication compared to face-to-face communication, but it is still a great substitute during times in which face-to-face communication is so hard to come by. Now, even though children do have the opportunity to communicate with others, it is still reduced in comparison to normal times, and this reduced socialization should still be of concern to us, especially considering how social humans are. Access to these forms of communication undoubtedly reduces the chances children will develop these health risks as discussed previously, but it does not guarantee that they won't. So it is better to be safe than sorry and look for ways to provide your children with more socialization opportunities. There are several ways you can do this, such as organizing one-on-one meetings with the friends of your children. Meeting with one other person will not only make it easier to organize, but also make the meeting safer. Meeting as a group can be dangerous with regard to the spread of the virus, but meeting with just one other person can be much safer. Another way would be to just simply get outside and do activities with your child. It is easy to fall into the lethargic pattern of waking up, completing your work, and relaxing indoors, often with technology. Getting outside to play sports, go on walks, hikes, or any other activity can significantly help parent mental health and work against long-term health risks for your child. If your child was in an extracurricular group that no longer meets, try to reach out to the activity leader to see if you can organize a virtual meeting to complete these activities. Another tip would be to try to organize online games for your child to play with their friends if they aren't doing so already. The children can communicate through a Zoom call and enjoy the fun of competition with their friends while communicating with them. For more suggestions and detailed tips, visit the website at the bottom of this page. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for viewing this presentation, and I hope you found it informative.